Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily with Ray Flowers, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to use the promo code FSD20 for a 20% discount on the products over at fantasyguru.com. Hey there, I'm Ray Flowers of fantasyguru.com. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you're doing well. Hope that the family's good. Hope that your fantasy squad is good. And hope you're looking forward to some exciting discussion here on Fantasy Sports Daily for the next, 45 or so minutes. Again, I'm Ray Flowers. You can find me on Twitter, X, Instagram, all those places at the Ray Flowers. You can find my work over at fantasyguru.com. We'll talk about that in a second. I normally give a whole rundown of everything at the website. Just go to the website, click the Join Now tab in the top right corner. Get involved, okay? Before I get to the rundown of what we're going to talk about today and to simplify all of the deals and everything we got going on, we got a massive deal right now at the start. So I'm going to tell you about one deal. Well, two. You can always use promo code FSD20 to sign up for some of the products, right? But here is the product to get right now. Here's the code to use right now to get what? To get everything we got at fantasyguru.com. The flash sale is happening right now for the 50% off VIP Platinum memberships. Okay, the promo code for this is 50 special, 50 special. You put that in and what do you get? You get the VIP membership for a year. What does that mean? You get everything we do at fantasyguru.com and DFS. You get everything we do at fantasyguru.com in betting. You get everything we do at fantasyguru.com in seasonal. You get access to every single tool we have in the Elite Plus package of tools for baseball, football, et cetera, et cetera. You get access to every Discord room we have. You get access to every freaking thing we do. As you can see there on the screen, fantasy football, fantasy baseball, postseason NBA, rest of the season NHL, all the data suites, all the packages, the Smash Report, the Burr Report, the stuff I talk about in articles and on the show here. And you get access to the Elite Plus Network programming, which includes this show, which you can see here free, but most of the shows aren't free. We've got Justin Fensterman's Basketball Diaries. We've got Armando Marsal's Mind of Marsal. We got Jeff Mann's One Man's Opinion that appears on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. You get access to that. You get all of that. So remember, the VIP Platinum membership plan. Get it right now. Use the promo code 50special, 50 special. Get 50% off the entire package, which covers you for every sport, every piece of information we got, every tool we got. Boom, done. Right? No more, do you have this? Do you not have this? I don't have access to this, Ray. How do I get? Yeah, get it all. The VIP Platinum package. Use that promo code 50 special. Flash sale. I don't know how long this is going to go, right? We talk about this all the time. And Jeff even says it on his show on SiriusXM. A lot of times these deals come and they work and then it's up for a week. A lot of times it's up for 3 days. Sometimes it's 2 weeks. Like right now it's a flash sale. I don't know what that means, but I know it's available right now. So give it a shot. Get everything we do seasonal, everything we do DFS, everything we do wagering for every sport, including football. Use that promo code 50 special to get involved with us over at fantasyguru.com. Woo! It's exciting off the top, right? Should be exciting off the top. I think it's exciting off the top. Don't forget to leave your questions and comments here for me. I'll get to those at the end of the show as well. Again, I'm Ray Flowers. You should know that by now. I'm here on Fantasy Sports Daily, Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. A couple of things before we dive into the rundown. Number one, paid my tax and everything. Have you gone through this? We were joking about tax day yesterday. Paid my taxes weeks ago, right? Filed everything. It was all put in and, blah, blah, blah. Somehow I owe $15 more for the state, which is weird because I used the Tax Pro to do this. Somehow I'm getting $159 back from the federal government in taxes. Do you have this experience too, where you file everything, you pay someone to do it for you, you file it, and it's never quite right? I mean, 15, like the state's going to come after me for $15, like really? And I'm glad I'm getting $159 back after everything was filed, but you have this experience too? So both my state and my federal were off this year somehow. It's very weird. Secondly, just as an FYI here, I have jury duty this week. And I don't know how jury duty works in every state. It's probably very similar. But I have jury duty set for Thursday. So what that means is on Wednesday evening, I call a number and they tell me, you're no good. We don't want you. We love you. We need you to come in. They could also do a third option, which is, well, we might need you tomorrow. So you need to be on hold. So the bottom line is I don't know if there'll be a show on Thursday. This will be the first time we'll miss the show since it began, but I just don't know if it's going to be there. Hopefully I'll find out on Wednesday night that everything's good. They don't need me this year. I'll be good. I'll serve even though I didn't serve, and I'll be here with you on Thursday. May not be the case. I won't be able to tell you on Wednesday because the show's in the morning and I don't find out till the evening. So if you come here on Thursday and there's no show, that's why. Everything's fine. No one's hurt or sick. There's no problems. I have jury duty. So I'll see if I'm a little Perry Mason here coming up this week, and I'll remind you again about this tomorrow. Okay, let's get into it with baseball here. What are we talking about today? We got a lot of performance things to talk about. We got a couple of youngsters to talk about, so I'll mention those briefly. Jonatan Clase. Is it Jonatan Clase? Jonatan Clase? I always joke around and say that, look, Kyle used to say this all the time, Kyle Frank. Until you do something, I don't know your name. Well, I know who this guy is. He's the guy on the Mariners. Okay, I know what his skills are. We'll figure out the name. Joey Loperfido is also someone who we're going to give a little shot to. We've got some injury news with the Athletics. JD Davis is dealing with something with his groin. E.Ruiz is back. I saw people rejoicing over Ruiz in Discord. We'll talk a little bit about that situation here. We'll talk a lot about pitching today. Edward Cabrera, Sonny Gray, George Kirby, Seth Lugo, Aaron Nola, Luis Heel, Martin Perez. What's going on in the bullpens here? Yeah, there's got some interesting things in the bullpen. Another reason why, and we're seeing it play out here in the month of April, why I don't like save leagues, why it's a total crapshoot. The guy that's taken in the 3rd round has got fewer saves than guys were taken in the 23rd round or the 28th round or on the waiver wire league. There's multiple guys like that. I just pulled a couple out for the sake of comparison, but that's what we're dealing with. On the hitting side of things, Michael Busch, 5 in a row, folks. 5 games in a row with the home run. He's blazing hot for the Cubs. Jose Miranda had a good game with the Twins and all the issues they're dealing with. Maybe he sticks. Mike Trout, Mitch Haniger, Vinnie Pasquantino. We talked about him and said we need him to pick things up here a little bit in short order. He did exactly that. We'll talk a little bit more about him. Cedric Mullins, Taylor Ward, Jackson Merrill, and Christian Encarnacio Strand. Those are some of the players we're going to talk about today. And again, use that promo code FSD20 to get you the discounts. But remember, 50 specials, the code for the VIP Platinum plan. Beep, beep, beep. For those of you that don't know why I said it like that, it's because I flash it up on the screen. YouTube.com/@Elite+ Network. VIP Platinum. Everything, literally everything we do. Promo code 50 special. Get you a 50% discount. All right, let's go back to Ray's face. There we go. Push the right button, Ray. Okay, so Ray's back here. Let's talk a little bit about a lot of guys, again, especially focusing on the hill. First off is Edward Cabrera. And Edward Cabrera yesterday had a terrific outing. He dominated the Giants 6 innings. He gave up 1 hit. He walked 1 and struck out 10. And this is the exciting Edward Cabrera. We get a lot of guys, and we'll talk about some of them, like, Martin Perez. I have no interest in Martin Perez. I don't think you should care about Martin Perez. Should you care about Edward Cabrera? Yeah. And at the end of this season in 2024, it's possible Martin Perez is better than Edward Cabrera. There's a very possible scenario that plays out that way. Well, Ray, why would you say then you want Edward Cabrera? Because Martin Perez is just a dude. He's just a dude who's ham and egging it, trying to get through a lineup. As we saw last night with Edward Cabrera, there's potential dominance here. Now, the issue with Cabrera is twofold. One, there's been injuries through the years. And secondarily, there's been control problems. So he's got this live arm that we can dream on, but there's the 2 pieces that have always held him back. Well, we've already dealt with the health part this year. So, we've seen that directly. We haven't seen the other part yet because he came out blazing yesterday. 10 strikeouts and 1 walk. He's not that guy. No one's that guy, right? Well, maybe there's a few guys that are kind of that guy, but he's not that guy. But this just shows you what can happen. 91 pitches to do that, too, through the 6 innings is really good work. Cabrera's likely on waiver wires everywhere. It depends how your league handles this. I'm stunned by the amount of leagues that have open waivers every day and all that kind of thing. Cabrera might have already been grabbed after the results last night. You can grab him depending upon what your rotation and staff looks like. If Cabrera goes out and, makes 3 dynamite starts in a row here, would I be shocked? I would not. If he goes out and makes a so-so start the next time and a so-so start the next time, and then the outing after that walks 5 guys and gives up 5 runs, would I be surprised? I also wouldn't. 3 starts after that, he gets hurt. Would I be surprised? I would not. So this is, I can tell you that this is an arm that for years, all of us have been able to analyze it and say, if he can lock in his control, he's going to take off. He's going to be dynamite. He's got every opportunity to do that. The Marlins need him desperately to grab that spot in the rotation and run with it. Last night was a good first step. If he's on the waiver wire, I'm totally fine with adding him. He's a power arm that we can dream on. The caveats that I laid out there being obvious, though. Sonny Gray and Justin Fensterman and I on the Elite Plus show, Elite Sports Game Time show. I'm all confused. Which you can see there on the screen Monday through Thursday from 8 to 10 Eastern on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. That Elite Plus Game Time show, we were on it last night, and Justin asked me a question about Sonny Gray. He's like, look, they're going to limit Sonny Gray to 75 pitches tonight. And I was looking at your DFS write-up yesterday, but you still had Gray toward the top of your write-up. Why, given that short window of workload? And I said, look, I think his first time out, he threw 64 pitches and went 5 shutout innings. The Athletics suck. Gray looked really good in his first outing. Pitching in Oakland's it's a great environment to pitch in. It's a revenge game, if you believe in that kind of thing, for Sonny Gray. And so I said, you got to still be in with Sonny Gray. So what did Sonny Gray do? He went out and threw a quality start. Not only a quality start, but he didn't walk anybody. He got a strikeout an inning, and he allowed 0 runs. And he did all that on 72 pitches. We've been talking about this and talking about if you have a pitcher against the White Sox or the Athletics right now, start them, period. Seattle Mariners have been hitting like butt too. Now, they have a much better lineup than those other two teams, but they haven't been hitting. There's certainly teams right now that are struggling. And, the Athletics and the White Sox are going to be awful teams. They're not going to produce many exciting fantasy results from either squad, I don't think. Let's hope that a guy like Luis Robert can get healthy. Maybe Eloy Jimenez we can dream on. Maybe Zach Galoff. Like, there's guys, right? But overall, there's nothing to see here. But Sonny Gray did to the A's last night what the cash game breakdown said he was likely to do, and that is dominate them. And so that's 2 really good starts for him. We haven't seen him hit 75 pitches yet. So that's kind of the next step. We need him to get up to that 90-95 pitch zone. I assume he will. The Cardinals obviously struggling to find their footing. They only got 3 runs last night, so they won the game 3-1, but they didn't do anything offensively. They're still struggling, trying to find their footing there as well. It looks like Nola is starting to hit a little bit, but Paul Goldschmidt, who we talked about yesterday, struggling. Not struggling on the hill is Sonny Gray, and a strong effort yesterday against the Oakland Athletics. George Kirby was someone that everyone was very nervous about because George Kirby, if you got George Kirby, he's an SP1, right? You took him in the 3rd round, something like that, and he's not looked sharp. So going into last night, a lot of eyes on him against the Reds. He went out and did his normal 6 innings, gave his normal quality start, 2 runs allowed, didn't walk anybody, struck out 6. That's George Kirby last night. And we said this, that looking at everything with Kirby, it didn't seem like he was that far off. So while people were nervous and there was questions in Discord, questions on social media, all this kind of stuff, it's like, he's healthy. And if he's healthy, he's going to be fine. He was fine last night. I anticipate Kirby doing more of the same moving forward. The thing that Kirby has that a guy like Cabrera doesn't have, as an example, is a pinpoint control. Even with the struggles he had his first 3 starts, I think he walked like 2 guys. I mean, he just doesn't beat himself. He usually throws darts. He did it last night using those 89 pitches to get through the 6 innings against a good Reds lineup. Now, there's some struggling players. We'll talk about one of them here in a bit. But that's a difficult lineup to pitch to. And Kirby kind of went through them last night. Not surprising. Back on the quality start train, so everyone can take a sigh of relief with George Kirby. Slow start, but it looks like things are going to settle in here. At least that's the hope, and every reason to believe that, given his history and what we saw last night as well, that he'll be just fine moving forward. So good to see, but we all like to take that sigh of relief. Seth Lugo, the cash game breakdown pitcher yesterday, both for FanDuel and DraftKings. The guy that I said to start yesterday, Seth Lugo. What did Seth Lugo do? Well, Seth Lugo went out there and said, guess what? I'm going to pick up a victory. I'm going to go 7 shutout innings against the White Sox. He didn't allow any runs. He allowed 4 hits, 1 walk, only had 4 strikeouts. Now, as we've discussed, and what was talked about in his player profile before the season, as we talked about here on this show, as I talked about yesterday on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio with Justin Fensterman on that Elite Plus show, he's been really effective. That is now 4 starts this season. That's 4 quality starts. Going back to last year, that's 7 quality starts in a row. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's 11 of 12 games with a quality start. So Seth Lugo just continuing, and you can't expect 7 innings of shutout baseball from Seth Lugo. It was the White Sox, okay? But the point being that he had the matchup to take advantage of, and he took advantage of it. A lot of pitchers have that matchup, and they don't take advantage of it. He did. And, I saw a gif of one of his curveballs last night. Nasty, man. It came out of his hand kind of almost mid-thigh, looked like it was going to have a little hump in it, and it just had that downward break, that 12-6 Uncle Charlie from the old days, down into the turf. The guy swung at it, missed it by 12 inches. Seth Lugo's balling right now. And when you give him a matchup that's beatable, like yesterday, he beats it. There will be tougher times. He is in the rotation rounding out zone. He's not to the Martin Perez level, but he's also certainly not to the Aaron Nola level, right? There's a difference here. But he's pitching well and he's giving depth. And in this day and age, as we talk about all the time here on the show and in articles and everything like that, in this day and age when, you're just looking for quality innings, I think Seth Lugo can be there for most of the season. I think he can give you 150 plus quality innings. And given the fact that he was a reserve round pick in deep leagues and probably on waiver wires in a lot of your leagues, Seth Lugo's early on at least, and it's only a handful of starts, but early on he's really come through. And I'm very impressed by his effort to date. Aaron Nola is the next guy to talk about. And, we discussed the fact that Aaron Nola is in a zone where, right? Like he's struggled. He's not missing bats. The velocity is down. We really need to see that next start for Aaron Nola. That next start was last night against the Rockies. He needed 99 pitches to get through 7 in the third innings. How did it go? It went great. 1 run allowed in the 7 and third innings, only 4 hits and a walk. So he kept the guys off base. He had 9 strikeouts. Again, it's the Rockies on the road. The Rockies are not a good offense right now on the road. Okay. But this was a matchup that he should have had success in. He did have success. And not just did he have success outwardly, but the radar gun was very positive too. He was down like 1.5 miles with his fastball velocity. So he had the best velocity of the season, I believe, last night. It was back up in the normal zone for him. And there's a couple of things for Aaron Nola that are always intriguing. 1, he throws 180 innings every year. 2, he always gives you 180 strikeouts, right? There's that piece there. The guy we saw the first 3 outings looked like I could give you 180 innings, but it looked like he's going to struggle to get the strikeout piece. He didn't last night. He, showed who he has been for years last night. And while you still look at him right now and you see his numbers and it's 19 strikeouts in 23 innings. Let's go a little bit deeper here. The 20% strikeout rate that he has right now is bad. Okay. He's been at 25% or better every year since 2015. So we have to keep a close eye on that because with the velocity down a little bit and with the control maybe off a little bit, his walk rate right now would be his highest in 5 years. He needs to miss some more bats, right? He's not, if he settles into this zone, he becomes a lot more like Seth Lugo, which I don't think is the case. I'm just pointing it out. His CSW of 23% would be his first year under 29% ever. Okay. His first pitch strike rate of 60.4% would be a career worse mark. His swinging strike rate would be a career worse. So there's work to do here. It was a good first step last night. It's only been 4 outings. It's 23 innings. Guys, if at the end of the day, your worst 4-game stretch leaves you with a 3.5 ERA, right? And, if you take out that first game, his last 3 outings, his ERA is 1.5. So we're, picking on him a little bit here, but there are legitimate issues that need to be followed up on. Great first step for Nola. If you have Nola, you can take that, sigh of relief, just like you can with George Kirby. Let's continue to follow him and see how the strikeout rate, is it pick up or not? And follow that first pitch strike rate because it's such a simple and stupid thing. And I feel kind of dumb saying it, but it's like, getting ahead 0-1, falling behind 1-0 changes everything. It changes everything from the at-bat. And for a guy who's got a 66% career first pitch strike rate to be at 60%, which is just below the league average, when your stuff starts to leave, do you start to nibble? There's a lot of guys where, Aaron Nola from 5 years ago, boom, we're just throwing strike 1. Yeah. Now it's like, well, is that part of what's going on? Is it just, hey, he's had some spotty control for a couple of outings? I expect it to level out. I expect that first pitch strike rate to go back up. There's no reason at this point to think it won't, but he's going to have to miss some more at-bats, but a very good first step for Aaron Nola. Luis Gil of the Yankees. And, we had the whole Luis Gil experience. We talked about him on the show last night. The fact is that this guy, as we've discussed, throws 98 miles an hour. He throws his fastball 60+% of the time. So it's dead red. Here we go. He's about 15, 18% on the slider and the changeup. So he uses both those pretty similarly at this point. But it's two-thirds of the time almost he's throwing his fastball. When his location's on, he's a tough at bat. When his location's off, which is unfortunately frequently, he becomes a little bit of a scary at bat. You never know where the ball's going to go. But it becomes easier for the batters because they can start spitting on off-speed pitches and just focus on the fastball. Or if he can't locate his fastball, then he's got real problems. And you look at last night's effort against Toronto on the road, and you say to yourself, you know, he went 5 innings, gave up only 3 hits, 3 runs. That's okay. That'll work, right? Okay, that would work. That's his first game of 5 innings pitched because of the pitch counts they've gotten up. He had 6 strikeouts and 8 strikeouts his first 2 efforts, both of those less than 5 innings, so more than a strikeout inning, both those efforts. Last night he had 6 and 5 innings, so he's up to 20 strikeouts in 14 innings, more than a strikeout an inning each time out. All good. What happened last night? Well, he walked 3 guys his first outing. He walked 4 guys his second outing. He walked 7 guys last night against the Blue Jays. That just doesn't work. I mean, the 4 walks and 4 innings doesn't work. 7 and 5 we know doesn't work. 7 and 5 innings get you demoted. I mean, that's so. We're at a point here with Heel where we've seen the whole Heel experience. He's got a 3.8 ERA, 3.9 ERA. He's got 20 strikeouts in 14 innings. That totally plays. Like, that'll play everywhere. He hasn't allowed a home run yet. Now, there's fortune involved there because his ground ball to fly ball ratio is 1.1. But, you know, that's basically some league average stuff we're getting there. Now you look at his first pitch strike rate, it's 51%. The league average is about 61%. If you're at 51%, you got no shot as a starting pitcher. It just doesn't work. And that's where we're at with him. And because of the fact that his first pitch strike rate is so bad, he's 50-50 basically to be 0-1 or 1-0. Even with this stuff and his ability to miss bats that we talked about and highlighted, his O swing rate, which is the amount of swings he gets outside of the strike zone, which if you're head 0-2 with that stuff, you're getting swings out of the strike zone. Your head 1-2 with that stuff, swings out of the strike zone. Because he's never ahead in the count, his O swing rate is 24%. That's a terrible number. Terrible. It's way below the league average. For a guy that throws 97, 98 miles an hour, who strikes out, 11 batters per 9 innings. Like that's so this tells you that he's either on or he's off. And that's the problem with Heel, is that he is on or he's off. The control issue he's never figured out. And while it's not impossible at 25 and almost 26 years of age that he couldn't figure it out, it does not look like he's figured it out. There's also that innings pitched piece, the 100 innings last 3 years or whatever it is. So, he's there for now. And just like Edward Cabrera, there can be huge positive efforts with Luis Heel. There can also be very troubling ones, and I think last night was an example of that. So be very cautious if you picked up Heel. He's a Yankee, throws 98 miles an hour. I get it. There's injuries. I understand it. But the Luis Heel experience includes efforts like last night, which are really spotty. So be careful with that. Let's get to everyone's favorite Martin Perez, whose name keeps coming up, and this is the second time this has really happened with him. It's happened a couple years ago too, where his career was basically over. He disappeared. We never saw him. And then in 2022, he posted a 2.9 ERA. And everyone was like, oh my God, what happened? And he was one of the waiver wire finds of the year because he threw 196 innings with that ERA, had 169 strikeouts, and it was like, wow, that was really damn good. Then we go to last year, and what happened? His ERA was 4.5, his whip was 1.4, and his strikeout rate was 15%. It was a terrible effort. He wasn't even league average last year, right? Coming to this season, he's made 4 starts for the upstart Pirates. Go Pirates. For the upstart Pirates, he's made 4 starts, and through 4 starts, he's got a 2.6 ERA, which is sparkling. He's thrown basically 6 innings an outing, which is fantastic. People are all in on picking up Martin Perez again. Now, remember, for his career, he's been league average. I'll be generous and say last year was league average. It wasn't, but I'll say that. He's just a league average guy. He's 33 years old. Okay? He's pitching for a team that desperately needs him to make starts. Okay. He's done that. He gives depth. He's not Jamie Moyer, but he's that kind of guy. He's keeping you off balance, right? He's changing pitches, site locations, all that thing. He's pitching. He's not stuffing you. He's not Luis Heel. He's pitching. The problem is he's just not very good. Even with all the success he's had to date this season, his whip is 1.26, which is just barely better than the league average, right? He's done all of this with a 0.4 home run per 9 mark, which is not sustainable. It just isn't. We all know that. His career number says that. The number last year was 1.3 per 9 innings. When the home runs come, and they will come, things change immediately. If you look at his xFIP right now and his Sierra, 2 of those ERA measures that speak more directly about what the pitcher's in control of than his overall ERA, which is not really a good measuring stick. The SIERA is 4.6. The xFIP is 4.5. Remember, his ERA right now is 2.6. So those numbers are telling you that, guess what? His performance to date really is basically the same as last year when his ERA was 4.5. He doesn't miss bats. He had a 15% strikeout rate last year, which is just terrible. The league average 23%, 23%. At 15%, you need a lot of luck because there's a lot of balls that are being put in play. In the early going this year, what's the strikeout rate? 15%. It's the same thing. There's no strikeouts here. So we get no strikeouts. The only way we're getting any kind of strikeouts is if he's going deep into games. You really need to have a strong ground ball rate to allow this much contact and consistently get outs. Does he have a strong ground ball rate? No. He's got a decent one. It's 46% last year. It's 46% this year. Okay, it's better than average. Not by much, but it's better than average. The problem is, again, he doesn't miss bats. There's a lot of balls put in play. He's not a big ground ball arm. He's been very fortunate to date. There are just his left on base percentage 82%, which if he kept all season long would put him like number 2 in the league. His career mark is 71%, which is basically the average where it's going to be at the end of the year. And I think at the end, if we say to ourselves, he's pitching the same as he did last year. Remember, he had a 4.5 ERA and a 1.4 WHIP last year. It doesn't look that way on the surface. And I said earlier, there's a chance that Martin Perez could make 30 starts and, have a 3.9 ERA and a 1.26 WHIP. And okay, right? Okay, I get it. In an era, in a time in 2024 where there's injuries every day with pitchers, I get it. But be very cautious with this guy. There's no upside. I hate the word, but there's no upside with Martin Perez. Zero upside. Edward Cabrera's got massive upside. He's got the floor. It's way down there. He's got the upside. Martin Perez has got none. It's smoke and mirrors with Martin Perez. And the data tells us that clearly. Now, he smoke and mirrored it in 2022, and it worked. He smoked and mirrored it last season. It didn't work at all. So if you want to play that game of a guy that's an aging player that's just hanging on, that's, got to hope that the umpire's on his side, got to hope that he gets that pitch on the corner, got to hope that that ball finds a glove when it's put in play. If you want to be that person, okay, but understand there are significant risks with Martin Perez. Let's talk a little bit about the bullpen before we move on to some hitters. Josh Hader had another rough outing last night. Josh Hader's ERA is over 9. It doesn't matter. It's a handful of starts, or handful of outings, and all that. But it's been a terrible start. Let's pull it up. Let me verify the actual numbers as we're talking here. But Josh Hader was probably the number 1, or if not 1, the number 2 guy behind Edwin Diaz on off draft boards this season. He's made 9 appearances. His ERA is 9.39, and his WHIP is 1.7. There have been periods of time, even with the dominance he has shown over the years, where he has a handful of outings that are just rough. It has happened to him. He always locks back in and dominates. I expect him to lock back in and dominate again. I think that's all fair. And, on the plus side, he's only allowed 1 home run this year, and he's got 11 strikeouts and 7 2/3. So, it's still there. This is not a panic if you're a Josh Hader owner segment at all. Disappointing start. He's got 1 save right now. He's also got 2 losses and a blown save. Not pitching well, but again, 30 saves. We're still in that zone with Josh Hader. The point I wanted to make is, again, a guy that was the 1 or 2 closer off the board, which in most leagues meant 3rd or 4th round pick. He's got 1 save. Michael Kopech, who wasn't even until the very end of spring when they said they're going to move him to the bullpen, that we even had an inkling he might get 9th inning work, who was maybe drafted in your league. I'm going to say probably not. Certainly wasn't drafted on my word, right? He's got 2 saves. Okay. Robert Suarez, who was drafted in the 23rd round or something, he's got 6 saves. Kyle Finnegan, who was drafted in the 27th round, he's got 6 saves. So you've got, and again, in your league, I don't know, maybe Kyle Finnegan wasn't even drafted. Michael Kopech probably wasn't drafted. Robert Suarez probably drafted, but there was debate about who's going to close for the Padres, right? We didn't know. They are signing these foreign players that have closing experience. We hoped it would be Suarez. We thought it would be Suarez, but we didn't anticipate him running away with the job, which he's doing right now for the Padres. This is an example of what I talk about all the time. It's directly right here. You spent a 4th round pick on Josh Hader. I spent a 23rd round pick on Kyle Finnegan. I spent a 22nd round pick on Robert Suarez, and I've got 12 saves. You got 1. Not only am I dominating you in the saves column, I didn't spend anything to get those guys. And this is This is the save experience in a nutshell. And it's what I talk about every year. It's what I write about every year. I know some people understand and get it. Sometimes you don't take that early closer and you get burned by it because you don't get the Finnegan or the Suarez, right? You get the Alex Lang, which I have on many, or had, had on many of my teams. You get the Will Smith, right? This can go in the other direction too. So that's not always raise 100% right. This is the absolute way you have to do it. No, it can go the other direction too. But the opportunity cost of getting guys like Will Smith and Alex Lang and Kyle Finnegan and Robert Suarez is just so much lower than Josh Hader. You took Josh Hader in the 4th round or end of the 3rd round. I took Randy Arozarena or something like that. You know what I mean? I got a guy who's going to go 2020 this year, even though he started slowly, right? I took an everyday player that I could just plug into my lineup and not worry about it. You took a guy that through the first 3 weeks of the season has not only done nothing for you, he's actually hurt your team. I don't know if this is going to change anything because in the end, if, Kyle Finnegan gets 17 saves this year and, Josh Hader ends up with 36, we'll have the argument anew, right? And that scenario that I just said, the 17 and 36, absolutely could be how it plays out. I'm not suggesting that it's not going to be. Still, I would have rather spent the 23rd round pick for the 17 saves than the 3rd round or 4th round pick for the 36. And I think that hopefully you would have too. But it's really interesting how the bullpens thus far are playing out around the league. Let's talk a little bit about the offensive side of things. Michael Busch, who we talked about yesterday on the show, hit another home run yesterday. It's 5 in a row. And he was in the cash game breakdown over at fantasyguru.com. DraftKings forced everyone to play Michael Busch yesterday. I didn't look at ownership rates, but he forced, he was $3,400. And, an average player is $4,200, $4,500, right? A guy you'd actually consider playing most of the time is $3,400. He was a must start. And I said that in the article. It's like, I don't know how you don't have this guy in your lineup. When I hit another home run, it's all pluses right now for Michael Busch. The negative, obviously, for the Cubs is Seiya Suzuki's gone to the injured list. That's a huge downer because he was hitting second. He was producing well. Seemed like he really found his footing. He's just had a hard time, Seiya Suzuki. It's just every time he gets going, the season ends or he gets hurt. He's had long periods of time where there's been some inconsistency. He's been an effective major league player, but, we're in year 3 now, and I was really hopeful of big things. I have him on multiple teams, as I'm assuming many of you do as well. Disappointing to see him go on the injured list. They're saying a couple of weeks, hopefully. We'll see. Back to Michael Busch. Great, fantastic start for a guy who was last-round pick, waiver wire edition. He's sharp right now. He's hot. He's locked in. Roll with Michael Busch. Jose Miranda is an interesting player. Wrote about Jose Miranda, was last week over at FG. Miranda, who had a dynamite season a couple years ago in the minors, hit like 340 with 30 home runs. He was fantastic. Got called up, had a solid rookie season. Year 2, performed really poorly with the Twins, then got hurt. So he came into this season without a role with the team, didn't make the club out of spring. Not surprising at all. Twins offense is kind of struggling a little bit here. They got a bunch of injuries they're dealing with. And here comes Miranda, who gets called up yesterday. He's only played 7 games, but he went deep yesterday, had 3 base hits. And, all of a sudden, he's got an 839 OPS. And, there's a chance here that Miranda could end up with a larger share of playing time than was anticipated when he was called up because of 2 things that are occurring. One, Royce Lewis is out, Carlos Correa is out, Matt Kepler's out, Trevor Larnach is down in the minors. They're not playing Matt Woolner every day. That's 4 guys that were anticipated to be in the starting lineup, and the guy in Larnach who was supposed to be around. They're not available right now. So they got space for Miranda if he hits. And 2, if he does start out hot, he's going to play. So Miranda's not, he's not a go out and must get. It's not who he is. But he is someone that, okay. You know what I mean? It's like you look at this lineup and it's like Kyle Farmer and, Willie Castro and Austin Martin. Like there's a chance for Miranda to do some things. And he had, again, a nice effort last night. Let's look at the next guy on the list. The next guy is Mike Trout. Well, he's got a chance to do things. Mike Trout, and here's the reason I wanted to bring up Mike Trout, because I think we all know who Mike Trout is and what the Mike Trout experience is, right? And when he's going, he is going. And right now, he's got 7 bombs in 16 games. He's got an OPS of almost 1,100. He's got the best strikeout rate he's had in years. It's only 19%. It's early. But for a guy who's gone to the 28% strikeout rate the last 3 years, even in this early slate of 3 weeks here, to see that number at 19% really important, because Mike Trout was trending toward being a 265 hitter. If his strikeout rate is here, he could be a 295 hitter again. So it's really all positive for him to this point, and it's even a double positive. He's got 7 home runs in 16 games. He's even stolen 2 bases, which again is nothing, but at least he's run a little bit. The question with Trout, though, is what do we do with Mike Trout? The last time he played 135 games was 2018. I've talked about this for multiple years in the preseason. He basically has played about 2/3 of the games since 2017. That's basically the average. And he's been hurt every year. The only time he wasn't hurt was during the COVID year. So do you trade Mike Trout? We talk all the time about, selling high on guys that no one expected to have success, right? Sell Michael Busch if you can get a return where someone thinks he's going to, hit 290 with 32 home runs this year, right? Okay. Do you do it with Mike Trout? I know it's raised, Mike Trout. Yeah. You didn't pay. What was it, 5th or 6th round cost? He was the lowest price point in years. He hit 40 home runs a couple years ago, and he only played 119 games. He's not the batting average guy. He's certainly not anyone to help you on the base paths anymore. But could Mike Trout hit 45 home runs and go 90-90 this year? Absolutely. 100% absolutely could do it. Could he do it while hitting 280? Sure. That'd be a massive return on a 5th or 6th round pick. What happens if he plays 93 games? So do you trade him? I'll say this, that if I had Trout, and I have him, I think, in one league, I can't trade him. It's like the FSGA or something, and no one trades in these leagues. If I could, I'd consider trading him. Because the hot start reminds everyone this guy's on a Hall of Fame track. It reminds everyone how great he is. It paves over the fact the Angels suck. It paves over the fact that, he's hurt all the time. Because right now, every time you turn on SportsCenter, he's hitting a home run. He hit another 420-footer last night. If I had Trout, I'd consider selling him, because I think the return could be, we're going to give you a return as if this guy was a 2nd round pick, right? He's back to being a fantasy star, but got him in the 6th round. That's, what? And I even said that, maybe I'll even look in the one league I have him and see if I can parlay him. I don't know. I think it's worth considering on your end of things, because Mike Trout has got the name. He certainly has the game right now, but he also has that history that makes me very nervous. Mitch Haniger is another fella that, I'll say this. The history makes me nervous. He's not Mike Trout, but he's had some really good seasons. He had a 3,900 season the last time he was fully healthy in 2021. Let me say that again. He went 3,900. Now, he's bounced around. He's back in Seattle after the year in San Francisco. The last couple of seasons, he hasn't played 65 games in either year. It hasn't been one injury. It's been multiple injuries. His body's he's getting hurt all over the place. So here we are through 16 games this year, and he's batting .286 with 3 home runs. He's driven in 11 runs. He's got a huge 12% walk rate, excuse me. He's got a lower than normal K rate of 22%. So that's the best combination he's ever had in the strikeout to walk column. Because of all the walks he's taking, he's on base percentage 375. This is a really impressive offensive start for a team in Seattle that's needed it, because their offense has not gotten on track as a group yet. Is there anything here that screams out panic? No. I would like to say that his exit velocity is down 5 miles an hour from the last 2 years, which it's only 42 batted ball events, okay, but we're starting to get in that zone, as I talked about on the SiriusXM show yesterday. I did the Fantasy Dugout show where I did the hour-long talk at 2 o'clock Eastern. It was a one-off. Don't expect me to be there all the time. I wish I could, but the Elite Sports Show with Jeff Mann's 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. That's today. Is every day Monday through Friday. And then later tonight I'll be on with Justin Festerman 8 to 10 on the Elite Sports Game Time. A loss of 6 miles an hour, 5-6 miles an hour in exit velocity is terminal if that's how it stands. I'm not willing to say in this case it's going to stand, but it's definitely something to watch with Haniger. But other than that, we have a guy who's controlling the strike zone well. We have a player who looks very much like the guy that was really good previously. But how many games is he going to play? Remember, he hasn't played 65 games. He didn't play 65 games in 2023. Didn't play 65 in 2022. Didn't play 65 in 2020. Didn't even play during the COVID season. Didn't have 65 games in 2019. So 3 of the last 4 years, he hasn't played 65 games. The only time he did He went 39, 100, 100. It's very much a Blake Snell kind of effort, right? It's like, well, he's just a guy, but the 2 times he hasn't been a guy, the 2 times he's played 150 games in his career, he's gone 26, 90, 90 both seasons. So you can't parlay Haniger into anything because everyone's going to look at him the same way I did. So unlike Mike Trout, where maybe we can trade him before the injury strikes, in the case of Haniger, I think we just ride it out. I picked him up in one league myself, where he was available because I needed help in the outfield. And I'm assuming you've done the same thing. We'll keep an eye on the exit velocity numbers. They'll have to improve. The barrel rate is down 2, which is not surprising. And again, it's 42 batted ball events. But we'll need that number to come up before we can give the full stamp of approval to a guy who's had some health issues, obviously, in his past. Vinnie Pasquantino. Vinnie, every time you look up, Vinnie's he's ripping it now. And I guess what happened was I said, hey, Vinnie, you got to get going, man. Come on. And he heard it, and he said, I'm going to get going. And not only has he got going, he's got a 5-game hitting streak now. And not only does he have a 5-game hitting streak, he's got 3 home runs during those 5 games, and he's driven in 10 runs. Vinnie P. So Vinnie, who was pretty hot last year after a strong rookie season, then went out and was very disappointing last season, had the shoulder issue that caused him to only play 61 games, came into this season with a lot of lost luster. I think the sharps out there still said, look, this guy was an up-and-comer a couple years ago. This guy could hit 280 with 25 home runs. Let's see what we got. The early returns are solid. He's only hitting 255, but a 234 batting average of balls in play is stupid. That number will go up. He currently has a 1.3 walk to strikeout rate, which is fantastic. And that's a hallmark of his, 1 strikeout per walk. You do that, it's almost hard to not hit 275 if you have any type of positive hit tool. He certainly has a positive hit tool. He's just rounding into form. So is he on the waiver wire after 3 home runs and 10 RBIs in 5 games? I don't know. If he is, he still profiles today as he did when the season began as a guy I'd really like to have as a corner infield option in mixed leagues. Cedric Mullins, wanted to check in on Cedric Mullins, who I have on multiple teams, who I'm sure a lot of you have on teams because I talked about him glowingly in the preseason. Hit a home run last night. He's off to a fantastic start. He's only stolen 2 bases in 16 games, but that's still going to give him 20 steals this year. That's not great. I think the number could still be 30. Okay. But he's run a little bit. We need to see that really pick up because that's where a lot of his value comes from. He's hit 6th or 7th most of the time. So there was a hope that he'd be toward the start of the lineup like he was a couple years ago. But the expectation was toward the bottom because of all the young talent they have there. And that's the way it's played out. But through 16 games, he's hit 4 home runs, which is a little more than expected. Let me take a sip of water. He's hit 4 home runs. He's driven in 13 runs and scored 12 times. Even if he only steals 20 bases and he's doing that, that's a 30 home run, 90-90 season, right? Which I'm not saying he's going to do. But the point is he's been very productive overall. He's hitting 265, and he's got an 872 OPS, which is eerily reminiscent of his 2021 effort. Now, he's not going to hit 30 home runs. Again, I don't believe that. I would like to see him hit the ball on the ground a little bit more. His ground ball rate last year is 35%. This year it's 38%. It's league average kind of stuff. With his game, you'd like to see him hit on the ground a little bit more, use his speed a little bit, try to beat out some batted balls, that kind of thing. You look at his expected batting average right now, it's almost dead on his actual batting average. You look at the exit velocity, it's the same as last year. You look at the launch angle, it's the same as the last 3 years. Look at the barrel rate, it's a little up from the last 2 years, but basically the same. Same thing with the hard hit rate. This is really who he is. It's about staying healthy with Cedric Mullins. He's part of an upward moving lineup with tons of talent. We talk about Cowser, we talk about Henderson, we talk about Holiday, we talk about all these other guys. Cedric Mullins and Ryan Mountcastle stabilizing forces in that lineup as well. Talk about a stabilizing force. What about Taylor Ward? Taylor Ward is someone that I think we've all had a love-hate relationship with. He's another one of these players that's probably been on and off your teams over the years, I would assume. And, the thing that's always held him back is he's also like Mitch Haniger, really. He's had problems staying on the field. He has 1 season of 100 games in the bigs. When he played those 100 games, he hit 280 with 23 home runs. He's solid. You look at his on-base percentage for his career, it's 334. But he's had a season as high as 360. Listen to this consistency. Take out the 360 season. Here are the other 4 years if you include this year. 333, 332, 335, 333. Now, that's really statistically almost impossible. but he's done it. So you know what to expect with him. He's off to a tremendous start this year. He's already got 6 dongs, 19 RBIs in the 16 games he's played. He's hitting over 300. Surprisingly, he's hitting 4th. He hit 3rd yesterday, but he's hit 4th every other game this year. He's actually got a hitting streak now, too. Let's see. What is it, an 8-game hitting streak? Let me count as we're talking here. Yeah, I think it's an 8-game hitting streak. He's also doing that right now. He's had 3 home runs his last 4 games. He's rocking and rolling. He's just killing it. He's got a WOBA of 430 during the hitting streak with 11 runs knocked in. Good, not great. Is he going to be an all-star this year? Is he going to hit 335 home runs? Is he going to be a usable piece as long as he's healthy? I think the answer is yes. And, one thing he hasn't done to date is he hasn't walked. He's got a walk rate of about 9% for his career. It's currently 3%. Okay? So, when that number comes up, and it will, because we talk about him, there's a lot of consistency in his game. When that number comes up, if he can keep hitting like this, then maybe we do have an all-star. But I would hesitate to get overly excited about the hot start because I think at the end of the day with Taylor Ward, just like with Mike Trout, his teammate, the real answer to what the value is for him this season is going to be, what is the plate appearance total? Is it 430? Is it 530? Is it 630? I'm putting him in the 430 zone as my expectation. Could I see a 530, 630 season? Yeah, I could. And if I do, Taylor Ward's going to end up being a really strong performer because I think he's more of a compiler than an outright star. 2 other youngsters to talk about. Jackson Merrill, just wanted to touch base on him. Surprisingly, given a shot to play for the Padres at the start of the season in the outfield. That was not something that was foreseen back in January. He's just 20 years old. He's played 19 games out there in center field, and he's looked good. He's hitting 356. His walk rate is 12%, which we love. He's making contact, which has kind of been his hallmark. A lot of loud balls off the bat, not a lot of strikeouts, 16% strikeout rate. He's done very, very well. I think that he's done enough to certainly solidify his spot in the lineup on a daily basis, and that's all you can hope for with the 20-year-old. There will be struggles, and when the league starts to adjust to him, and you got to figure they will, and you got to figure his 426 batting average of balls in play is going to come down, right? When these things start to normalize, then we'll start to see the real Jackson Merrill. But the early returns are absolutely fantastic with him, and I have nothing but positive things to say about a youngster who comes up at 20. Controls the strike zone, puts the ball in play, gets positive results. This is an excellent start for Jackson Merrill. On the other side of things, we have Christian Encarnacion-Strand of the Reds. A lot of people are making noise about the fact that Strand has hit 3rd every game. Ellie De La Cruz is hitting 6th, right? Okay, what are we doing here? Jake Fraley's hitting down on the order too. Christian Encarnacion-Strand is hitting 3rd every day. I like consistency in a lineup. I like having a plan and sticking to it. I'm also looking at your number 3 hitter with a 556 OPS. What's the issue with Strand right now? Well, he's got 1 walk in 16 games. And I talk about this all the time. I don't care who you are. 1 walk in 16 games, it just opens you up to danger. You're just in the danger zone. You're too aggressive. You're not willing to take a walk. Teams aren't afraid of you, right? They pitch around the strike zone and you're willing to swing at it. That's what that means. His 28% strikeout rate, it was 28% last year. So that's the era we live in. That's not horrible. But a 1.4% walk rate is bad, okay? He's hit the ball very hard, and in fact, the batted ball data, exit velocity, barrel rate, hard hit rate, launch angle, all almost exactly the same as last season. So this is probably what the Reds are seeing too. It's like this is basically the same guy we saw last year. It just he hasn't had the fortune to date. We're still talking about 15 home runs and 49 RBIs in 313 plate appearances. So that's still 3,100 kind of pace if we add last year to this year. It's been slow. If you have him on your team, I would like to bench him. I don't think we really should be dropping Christian Encarnacion-Strand because, again, he's hitting 3rd in what is a potent lineup, especially when the ballpark heats up and as the weather gets warmer, it's going to be a great place to hit for the Reds. I'd like to hold, but right now I don't necessarily have to have him in my lineup. Looking at the clock here, I'll do this with Loperfido and Clase, the youngster with the Astros that people are talking about potentially being called up to replace Abreu, and then the outfielder with the Mariners who has been called up. I'll break them down in the Rays Ramblings piece today. I'll do that. I don't want to take this thing over an hour. I see we got a bunch of comments that I'd like to get to too. So both those 2 youngsters, I'll have deep dives in the Rays Ramblings piece today. I'll give you the full breakdown of my expectations with the Astros situation and the Mariners situation. So check that out in the article later today. I wanted to talk about E.Ruiz. JD Davis has got an issue. Was it a groin issue with JD Davis? I don't even remember at this point. Let's pull it up just so I'm sure. I think it's a groin issue with JD Davis, and they're saying that they've tested him out. It's not the end of the world. That's really interesting too. That's another guy we'll talk about in a second. I just want to find the information with JD Davis. Bottom line is this: E.Ruiz was called up by the Athletics, and the supposition is that he will play on a consistent basis. I say supposition because there was no reason to demote him in the first place. He is who he is. He had a pinch hit home run last night. Let's all get excited about that. That's good news, right? But I hesitate to say he's back and he's going to play every day. That could very well be the case. JD Davis, by the way, they haven't even determined if he's going on the injured list yet. So they called up Ruiz, even though that was the fact. He was. He was placed on the injured list with a right groin strain. Okay. So that I was going to say, how did they open up the roster spot? I'm all circular here. JD Davis, groin issue, placed on the injured list. Ruiz called up. Totally different hitters, totally different positions. So it's not a 1-for-1 swap. They just brought Ruiz back. Ruiz had the pinch hit home run last year. Let's get excited about it. Okay. Hopefully, right? Again, the bat's the bat, but the dude can run. He doesn't need to play a ton to steal bases. I would anticipate the A's playing him on a consistent basis. We will see if that is indeed the case. We'll see. I got a question about this guy. He was so interesting. I got a question about this guy in Discord yesterday, and I just looked up the news and notes here. Twins signing Tony Kemp to a minor league deal, by the way. Rangers calling up Jack Leiter. Ooh, that's an interesting move. Interesting. I assume to work out of the bullpen, but we'll see with Jack Leiter. We'll get more information on that. I'll write about that in the ramblings later, too. Cody Bradford news going down the flames while everyone else with the Rangers gets promoted. Andy Pages is the guy that we were talking about in Discord yesterday, a high-level fantasy prospect for the Dodgers. Third ranked in the organization, I think. And I said yesterday, look, don't have guys ranked higher than him in the rookie rankings. And we agreed, yes. And the real issue we saw was the fact that, where's this guy going to play with the Dodgers, right? And this is, I still say the same thing, even though he was just called up, okay? But the problem we have is that he's got, obviously, options. He can be sent back down. We have a scenario right now where Jason Hayward's on the injured list with a back tightness. You look at the team right now, the way it's constructed, they've got Chris Taylor who can play in the outfield. They got Taylor Trammell who can play in the outfield. Are they sending Trammell down? Let's see who's the move there. That's probably the move they're going to make. But the fact is they're going to mix and match lefty-righty. They're going to not be afraid of switching the lineup up. Their outfield currently, because Shohei Ohtani's stuck at the DH spot. That's the negative about having Ohtani, right? He's stuck at the DH spot. Teoscar Hernandez is going to play every day in right field. You've got in center field, James Outman is going to play at least against all righties. And then in left field, they're going with Kiki Hernandez right now. They've got Kiki Hernandez they can use out there. Again, Chris Taylor can be used out there. Currently, Taylor Trammell. We'll see if he's the guy that goes out. When Jason Hayward is ready to return, where does Pages, there's no spot. And I struggle to say the Dodgers are going to keep a guy up with this pedigree and this expected performance level as a guy that's going to get 7 at-bats a week. So we'll get further information on this. The timing of it is just fantastic because, again, I was just having this discussion yesterday, and we both agreed there's really no space here. But he's getting called up. 5 home runs, 15 RBIs in 15 games, had an OPS of well over 1,000. We'll see. I expect this to be a short-term situation, but maybe we'll get more information here throughout the day that'll lead us to a different conclusion. Check the ramblings and hit me up in Discord over at fantasyguru.com for more information. Okay, let's look at some of the comments this morning. Mario says morning. Doug says morning. Hello, you too. Let's see what we got here. Reynolds is my center fielder. Ruiz, Perkins, Siri. Pick one as a backup in a points league. I'd go Siri, but that's not. Lots of strikeouts there with Siri. Power speed, of course, but Ruiz just doesn't hit enough. And again, I explained I'm not certain what his playing time is going to be. Perkins is off to a decent start, but I don't think he's got staying power there. So I'm going to say Siri, even though, again, in a points league, it's not overly appetizing. Henry says, morning. Hello. David P. says, your voice survived. You know what, David? It's interesting. My lady friend says this all the time. You like to talk. I don't really like to talk. I think I'm good at it, but I don't really like it. I can talk forever. And I guess it's just talking forever my whole life. Like my vocal cords, she talks for 3 hours on a call, and it's like her throat's sore, and she's drinking tea and that kind of thing. I talked for 3 hours and it's like, I mean, for whatever reason, I guess that, my muscles aren't as big as they used to be, but my throat muscles are strong. I don't know. Mario says Finnegan is still available. Well, I don't know why that's the case. You must be in a pretty small league there. People aren't paying attention because he was obviously, Mario, the closing leader for the Nationals. Every closing leader should be drafted. And the fact that he's racked up 6 saves now. Ooh. Here's a question, 863 Zane. Thoughts on Zach Littell? Written about him in the ramblings over at fantasyguru.com. The short synopsis is that another one of the finds for the Rays. A solid pitcher, he's in the Seth Lugo zone. I think that's a good comparison. We don't know about the workload piece at this point, but in that zone of a guy that quality starts are his goal. There'll be a lot of games where it's 5 1/3 or 5 2/3 innings, or maybe even 4 2/3 innings, because that's the way the Rays run it. But he's a 6-inning, 3-earned run kind of guy. Not a lot of strikeouts, keeps you in the ball game type. I think that the upside there is very minimal with Littell, but the floor is pretty solid with him. And the Rays, until their guys blow their arms up, because they all do, the Rays have a way of figuring things out. And I think you always have to take that seriously with anyone that the Rays, give it a starting shot to. And Littell, going back to last season, has been a very effective pitcher without being an exciting or dominating one. Paul says, great content. Well, thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. We're trying to keep things interesting here on Fantasy Sports Daily, Monday through Friday, from 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Brandon A says, Ray, would you consider Edward Cabrera and Mackenzie Gore trade high candidates, or more of a hold on to and wait and see? Great question, Brandon. The answer that I can give you is that it depends upon what the return is. Okay. I broke down Cabrera at the start of the show. If you didn't see it, you can watch or listen on demand. Spent 5 minutes talking about Edward Cabrera. He's the perfect sell high guy, but I don't know if one outing of 10 strikeouts gets you enough. Like, in an ideal world, yes, he's a sell high guy. But what's the return going to be? Is it Zach Littell? Like, I don't know. Maybe someone will see 10 strikeouts and go bananas. But all the concerns that I talked about, 40 minutes ago are still there with him. In the case of Mackenzie Gore, I like what I've seen from Mackenzie Gore. I think Mackenzie Gore, who at one point in time was the number 1 left-handed pitching prospect in baseball. Okay. So he's had he was athletic, and everyone assumed he'd always keep his mechanics together and all that. And he didn't. And he lost control of the strike zone. And I don't know if there was some doubt that crept in, but it was some injury. It was just messy. And it was completely unexpected. He was right on the cusp of being somebody, and then it all fell apart. He's building back up. Last year was a solid step, and it looks like he's taken another step this season. I like Gore. The investment wasn't high in Gore. I think Gore is someone that will give you strikeouts. I think he'll give you innings. I think we're in for a good season with him. So I'm much less likely to trade Gore than I am Cabrera, but I also think that Gore brings more than Cabrera. So Brandon, hit me up in Discord over at fantasyguru.com. Good question, right way to think, but until we have actual specifics of what the deal looks like, it's really hard to say. Again, I'd much rather have Gore than Cabrera long-term. Like what I've seen from both, but I really like what I've seen in the month of April from Gore in the multiple efforts. Isbell says, sell high on Taylor Ward. I'm thinking of an offer for Jarren Duran. Is Lourdes Gurriel the NL Taylor Ward? That's Isbell. That's pretty good. Yeah, actually, I think that's fair. I think both Gurriel and Ward are 25 home run guys, 80 RBIs, 80 runs scored, maybe hit you 265. Yeah, I think that's a very fair way to look at both guys. I think putting them in that same bucket is a good way to do it. Jarren Duran for Taylor Ward. Well, again, is getting Jarren Duran that much of a sell high move? They're different players. Duran's way more exciting. He's way more sexy. He steals bases. That's always a value. I don't have a problem at all making this trade move. So to answer your question, if you could turn Ward into Duran, I'm all for it. But yeah, I don't know if that's, it all depends how you define sell high, to be fair. Because, and by the way, I was looking at Jarren Duran on that Patriots game yesterday. Does he look? Am I the only one that looks at him and thinks running back? Like, dude's pretty freaking cut. You look at his performance at 745 OPS. Still got the same boring walk to strikeout ratio as always. Hitting the ball about the same as last year, maybe a little bit better. Strikeout rates come down a little bit, which is nice to see. Again, I'm all for the move. I would make it. I don't think it's like a huge win, but it definitely is one that I would make as well to get him. And Mario says Jackson Merrill's available along with Siri. You could try Jackson Merrill, but again, we talked about him too, Mario, that he's a rookie. First time through, they're going to find out his holes. They're going to start to attack his holes, and then the adjustment game is going to begin. I like his overall game. I think that what we've seen, again, is terrific. I think he has the ability to be a significant points league guy. So I'd take a shot on Merrill over Siri. I would. I think I'm willing to take that, but there's a downside there. So again, rookies play this game all the time. Mario's grabbing Merrill. Okay, there you go. There we go. There we go. Did I hear you yesterday on MLB radio? Yes, Isabel, you did. I did a one-off. Steve Phillips, the Fantasy Dugout show. Steve Phillips was away, so they asked me to do a one-off, and it's Steve's show. So Steve's show gets on Sirius XM on 2 channels. So yeah, I was there. I think that's the first time I've ever done a show on MLB Network, technically. I've done 10 trillion on Sirius XM's Fantasy Sports Radio. But yeah, I think it was the first time. It was a one-off, unfortunately. Happy to do more. Hopefully they'll ask me to do more, because I know that there's that 1 hour block that's kind of floating a little bit on the schedule. So maybe you'll hear me there again. 863 Kane, would you drop Littell for Cabrera in a head-to-head points league? I would keep Littell. But again, the answer to that, well, and he says, I think I just answered. The answer to the question is really, what are you trying to accomplish? Are we trying to get a ceiling and hope, or are we trying to get a floor and be boring? What does your roster composition look like? What does your staff look like? How aggressive are people on the waiver wire? How aggressive is the trade market? Because if you can grab Cabrera, and like the question earlier, and parlay him into a deal, well, then grab Cabrera and trade him. If there's someone in your league that's, oh, damn it, I missed out on him, I got to get him. Okay, right? I'll give you Bobby Miller. Okay, I don't think that's going to happen. But you know what I'm saying? Something like, then sure. If we're looking for a guy to make 25 starts for us, I'm going with the guy with Tampa Bay. Admitting that if everything goes right for Cabrera, he's going to be better. Which is, I don't have confidence right now that everything's going to go right for Cabrera. And then Kane said, and again, this is why I don't like head-to-head leagues. Okay, we're just having a conversation here. In 90 seconds, we've already talked about moving 3 guys. I don't know why people enjoy that. It's just me, but okay. Walker to start against the White Sox. Yes, absolutely. Walker's very good. Walker will throw 130 innings and get hurt. Okay, it's what he's done the last 2 years. I don't think at this point of his career he's going to be different. As we've talked about, pitch everyone against the White Sox. Pitch everyone against the Athletics. In a head-to-head setup, if you can get a guy that's as talented as Michael Walker facing the White Sox, thumbs up. I'm doing that. So that's the game. That's the game you play in the head-to-head game. But yeah, I'm not going to drop. I'm not going to drop Walker, given the fact that I think Walker and Cabrera profile in a similar manner because, for different reasons, but profile in a similar manner in terms of overall value. I don't want to drop Walker with that matchup on board. Again, everyone hear what I'm saying with Cabrera. Cabrera's volatility is a 10. Okay, his potential upside is probably a 9, but the floor is a 2. Like it's okay. You have to make a decision on whether that works or not. And if you make a move to Cabrera, because I know everyone's going to do it after the 10 strikeouts last night, you can't then drop him after 3 starts if he struggles, which is what everyone's going to do. So in a head-to-head, I'd be very cautious because I think the push to do what I just suggested, to grab a guy and drop him if he struggles immediately, it's just too high. In a roto league, at least most of the time, we have a little bit longer time horizon that we're taking a look at. Great question today. That's really good to see. And keep those coming. We went a little over here. Don't forget to go to fantasyguru.com. Check out all the products we have available there. Don't forget, we've got the all-in VIP Platinum membership. Use the promo code 50special, 50 special. That gets you a 50% discount on every single thing we have to offer for every sport, all seasonal, all DFS, all wagering, all of it. Use that promo code 50 special. Don't forget to catch me on the show later tonight. Lead Sports Game Time. That's Monday through Thursday with Justin Fensterman from 8 to 10 Eastern on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Catch us here every day, except for maybe Thursday. And there's a chance, I'll just say this too, I'll try to get an update out and everything, but there's a chance if I'm asked to do the jury duty on Thursday that I might have to go back on Friday too. So there's a chance Thursday and Friday, both, there won't be a show. We'll keep our fingers crossed that I end up here with all of you. But otherwise, it's Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock here, youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. On the website, @ElitePlus. Type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast. Take us on the go with you and all of that too. So I'm Ray Flowers. Thanks for listening today. I'll be back with you tomorrow at least. And then we'll find out about jury duty and I'll let you know the best way I can. Thanks for listening today. Tell a friend on the free show. Get them listening. Get them talking. Let's get a community going here. Really like what we're seeing here. The numbers are good. Let's keep expanding this thing as we continue to grow the Fantasy Sports Daily Show, which is powered by fantasyguru.com.